have a great quote here. A large body of knowledge indicates that childhood lead exposure is associated with impaired cognitive performance and behavioral problems, including fear and withdrawal behaviors. Now that comes from a research paper on from Nellie Laughlin, some other researchers, and Mary Schneider here at the university. And I keep putting this experiment off, talking to you about it. And in the process of looking into this and doing some other research, I happened upon, because of the tactile part of it, I stumbled across a recently published paper, published in January 2008, by one of Harry Harlow's old graduate students. His name is Gene Sackett. And the title of the paper is The Effect of Experience on the Development of Tactile Visual Transfer in Pigtail Macaque Monkeys. The study described here is the first to experimentally demonstrate the effects of experience on the development of tactile visual transfer. Infant pigtailed macaque monkeys were reared from birth to 2 months of age in special cages that allowed the separation of tactile and visual experience. Somehow they couldn't see their hands, in other words. They could see, but they couldn't see their hands or their feet. So they couldn't see the things that they were touching. And Gene Sackett, who was actually Deborah Bloom in her apology for Harry Harlow's work, says that Gene Sackett was one of his most important graduate students. Gene Sackett now runs the Infant Primate Laboratory at the Washington National Primate Research in Seattle. So again, but they say, they start out the first line of their paper here, it says, the study described here is the first to experimentally demonstrate the effects of experience on the development of tactile visual transfer. The first ever. Well, that's not true. In fact, a couple of years ago, I happened to be reading some old science journals, and here's a paper called Visually Guided Reaching in Infant Monkeys After Restricted Rearing. And in fact, it says the apparatus we have designed promotes the development of normal infantile behavior by supporting the infant, giving it easy and continuous access to a nipple, but it conceals the monkey's limbs from its view. Now this was published in 1965, and in fact in this paper, you won't be able to see it here I'm sure, but in fact they even give a little picture here of the little device that they made, and they strapped infant monkeys in this device that kept their heads completely isolated from being able to see their heads and their feet. So when Harry Harlow's graduate student, who's actually at the Washington Center, Gene Sackett, says that this is the first study to experimentally demonstrate this effect of not being able to see your hands as you're growing up. Well, he's either ignorant or he's a liar. He certainly is. He's the pride and joy of the University of Wisconsin's Primate Center, one of those good boys that went out and made a success of himself.